painting to photography, from beadwork to woodworking, KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University presents Art Beat. Art Beat highlights the work and accomplishments of local artists from in and around Winona. Support for Art Beat is made possible by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund.
Today on Art Beat, we take you to the Frozen River Film Festival's screening of Iron Opera to talk with co-director Mike Schultz. Schultz uses his playful filmmaking style to follow the production of an opera in the middle of northern Minnesota. Today we talk with Mike about his experience making the documentary, what the process is like making a film like this, and some insights on the characters of the film. I'm Ryan Flanders. Get your singing voice warm as we bring you Iron Opera co-director Mike Schultz at the Frozen River Film Festival. So we're here at the Winona Arts Center, Frozen River Film Festival. Just got done watching Iron Opera. We're here with one of the directors, Mike Schultz. Mike, if you just want to introduce yourself real quick.
Yeah, I'm Mike Schultz. I'm a director from northern Minnesota, come from Duluth. And yeah, my co-director on this was Marius Anderson, and he had to call in sick this weekend. He couldn't make it down, but he also had another movie playing called 40 Below this weekend. I helped edit that. So yeah, I was pretty busy this weekend. It was a good weekend.
That's awesome. Yeah, very, very busy. So what is Iron Opera about?
So there's, in the Iron Range of Minnesota, far northern Minnesota, they have an opera company that puts on an opera every summer, and they've been doing this for 10, 12 years now. And we made a movie about it. Just, the process of getting an opera done in the middle of nowhere. It's a lot of fun. It's actually quite funny. And as you might imagine, it's hard to do an opera in the middle of, it's hard to do an opera anywhere, but it's really hard to do it in northern Minnesota. Yeah.
So you spoke a little bit during the Q&A about how PBS came to you with this idea. Are you a fan of opera? Is this something that you really wanted to jump at?
I have to admit, I wasn't a huge fan of opera before I decided to do this. I mean, I'd gone to a few operas in the past, but it wasn't something that was like a part of my normal life. But I am a huge fan of theater, and I'm a huge fan of how creative things are made. I like watching movies like Bohemian Rhapsody just to see how they make all the Queen songs and things like that. So I was really excited to do it. And of course, when you do something like this, you have to, research opera quite a bit. And so now I don't miss an opera if there's one around. I've been going to them and loving them and learning a lot more about them. So sometimes I feel like that's the reason I make documentaries, is to educate myself on something that I have some interest in, but I would like to learn a lot more about. Yeah.
Okay, so what is your favorite opera that you've seen?
Of the ones I have seen, I'm gonna. That's a good question. So since we did Iron Opera, I've probably seen 5 or 6, and it's a weird choice, but I might pick Hansel and Gretel, and it's by Engelbert Humperdinck, but not the Engelbert Humperdinck who became a famous singer in the 50s and 60s. It's a different guy named Engelbert Humperdinck who was a German composer. And this was really his only famous opera, but it was kind of delightful. Yeah.
Yeah, opera was so much fun to learn about. I'm a big theater nerd as well, so I'm a La Boheme guy. I'm Rent head, so I went back and watched that.
I've never So I've never seen La Boheme, but I'm going to see it this summer because they're doing the Lyric Opera of the North in Duluth is going to be doing it. Yeah, so I'm really excited to see that this summer.
I'll see you there. So then going into this, what kind of research did you have to do? You said there was some opera research, but also what kind of research for the community did you have to do?
So when PBS North came to us and said, we'd like you to do this, but please, pitch us on like what your approach would be. So, we're kind of on the same page, and I guess they could have changed their mind if we had like a bunch of terrible ideas. And so we went into it thinking we really want to show how, a lot of local people volunteer for this opera. What are they doing when they're not in the opera? Like, we wanted to find characters who were, who were like doing like their daily jobs during the day maybe, and giving all to the opera in the evenings. And so we didn't know exactly who those people were going to be, but I had a sense there was this local musician who likes to play the accordion in a one-man band, and he often does this while skateboarding in parades. And I had a sense, I wonder if he's involved in the opera at all. So when we were pitching it, I actually called him up out of the blue, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm involved in that opera every year." And so then I'm like, "Okay, you're going to be one of the characters." And then we also found an Ojibwe language instructor, Ryan Bajan, who we found out was on the board of the opera and also was in the chorus of it every year. So that was kind of the research we did, is finding who are going to be the characters that we follow throughout this, that are, real Iron Rangers, sort of during the day, and then at night, almost like superheroes, they become opera people. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I just thought it was so interesting seeing these characters like from small town up in Minnesota, and you have this guy it's one of the first shots is we see a guy playing the accordion, riding on a skateboard down like Main Street. It's just like, what is going on here? So what was your experience like kind of being a fly on the wall with this professionally done opera in this community sense?
Everyone in the opera was really welcoming to us. I wasn't sure how they were going to like, having a camera crew around all the time. But they were fine with it. And I talked about this during the Q&A. We would show up every day and joke about, is this the day we're going to get some conflict? Because every good movie needs conflict. And we've heard, behind the scenes theatrical productions, tensions can run high. People can throw things at each other. And they would all laugh and then take us aside and say, but seriously, that might happen at some point. And so, when it finally did happen, it was more like we were kind of part of their crew and kind of in on the, not really the joke of it, but on the inside of it, and it was fine, and we were part of the team, so it was fine that we saw that, and I don't know if it was fine from their standpoint that it made it in the movie, some of the tension, but it was fun. We were part of the gang. Yeah,
and that tension, it feels so real as somebody who's done theater in the past. When that moment happened, I was like, yep, and they're sitting there talking. It feels like we're a week behind, but we open tomorrow, but that magic will come together, and I felt like you really captured that kind of community theater, professional theater kind of atmosphere. What was your favorite part of making this film?
I often say this was my favorite film to make. I don't know if it's my favorite film. It might be, but it was so fun to just wake up every morning, drive an hour and a half north to the Iron Range, figure out where they were rehearsing or what was going on that day. And it was just one of the most satisfying things I've ever done. Maybe I should get into theater because I guess that's kind of what it's like. I'm trying to think of like if I have a favorite moment. I mean, probably my favorite moment, there's a few like this, was when Steve Sokola, the accordion playing skateboarder, would say something offhand like that I had just never heard anyone say before. And I would just know, oh, that's going to make it in the movie. Like at one point, he's like happy about what's going on, and he says, "This is great. It's like getting waffles in the morning. And you didn't even have to make them." It's like, where does this stuff come from? It's so great for a documentary filmmaker to hear, stuff like that.
Yeah, he is quite the character. I don't know, that was somebody I was like, did he just like come across this guy, like just showed up the first day and like this crazy Finnish accent dude playing the accordion was there. But the title, the names,
in this film. That was a little talking point. Could you talk about kind of your thought process in putting that kind of personality into your films? Like, why do you do that?
Yeah. Well, in every documentary, you want to put up a name super, like a little graphic underneath the person the first time they start talking that says, like their name, Steve Sokola. And then you usually put on the second line, something like where, like the town they're from is commonly what people do. And so I usually just like to take that opportunity to throw in like a dumb little joke about, oftentimes I'll just do, I'll just echo what's on the screen. I'm trying to think of an example from Iron Opera. I can't think of one off the top of my head. But like in 40 Below, there's a guy who's wearing a giant raccoon on his head as a hat. And that's another movie I have here. And this character shows up wearing this giant raccoon hat. And so I put his name, and then I put for the second line, wearing the best hat in this film. And so that's just, it's just fun to play with that kind of stuff because it's an old documentary trope, and sometimes I don't even know why we're documentaries are doing that because it's not like we remember who the characters' names later. So it's just a fun way to kind of play with the form of the film, I think. Yeah.
No, I really liked it. It kind of got cut off by the subtitles in this viewing, but when you're showing all the theaters. And you're cutting to, and it's Vita like describing like that's a big theater and that's a very big theater, and then the big theater, very big theater.
It's like after I do them, I often don't even remember them. So people will ask me about the titles, and I'll just have to kind of play along and be like, yeah, I guess that was funny, and I don't know what they're talking about usually. They go right out of my head. So.
It's an in the moment as you're editing it. You just throw it on there and it's like, yep, that'll be good.
It really is. Yeah.
All right, Mike. Well, thank you so much for talking with me again. Absolutely.
You can just throw it in anywhere. I should always remind people, if you're interested in seeing this movie, it's available online. PBS North, it's on their website. It's on the PBS app, and you can also just search for Iron Opera on YouTube and find it if you want to watch it.
And where else can people find more of your work?
Oh, right. I'm everywhere. Just look for Mike Schultz, but it's Schultz spelled with an O. And there's stuff all over the place for me. I have a lot of stuff. Yeah. I'm working on a series right now called Minnesota Historia for PBS North, and that's on YouTube. Easy to find.
Thanks again to Mike for joining us today on Artbeat. Check out more of his work at MikeSchultz.com and find Iron Opera on YouTube and PBS. For more conversations on art, tune in to Artbeat, Tuesdays at 12:30, right here on 89.5 KQAL. For podcasts of Artbeat and other KQAL original programming, go to KQAL.org. I'm Ryan Flanders, and we've just heard from Iron Opera co-director Mike Schultz on Artbeat.
Artbeat is written and produced by KQAL FM on the campus of Winona State University. Visit us on the web at KQAL.org.